Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a Screenwriter's Rant on Electric Jesus. A story about a Christian rock band in the 80s. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Please check out my books. Links are in the description. There's all sorts of awesome books there, including the Pineys, Book 7. The Paradox Piney, ebook, trade paperback, Kindle Unlimited is free. Now let's get into this. This takes place in '87, before Christian rock, I think it was just sort of bubbling up, and it'd be a heavy metal band, except they would sing about Jesus instead of the devil. And Kevin from The Office stars as he's a manager, and he decides to manage them to the big time. And he's got a bad wig, and all sorts of crazy stuff happens. They get a groupie who sneaks on the bus, but it turns out she can sing, and then she becomes part of the band, and one of the guys falls in love with her. And then they play in a regular sort of nightclub, and they're worried about that, but they're actually really good. And then they're up for opening for Motley Crue, and so this looks like a pretty wholesome and fun movie. You know, I like Kevin from The Office, so it'll be funny. And, it takes place in the 80s, so it's got like kind of an 80s feel. Everybody looks like they're in the 80s or whatever. It's not called Bored Again. It's called Electric Jesus. It's got that look and the tone of a comedy. You probably won't have to worry about the woke idiots on Twitter screaming about it because it takes place in the 80s, and what are they going to do? Oh, that's not what happened. Most of the idiots complaining on Twitter weren't even born in the 80s. So it looks fun. First act is probably going to be, the group, they get together, and they do pretty well, and people kind of like them, but, there's that right-wing Christian, rock and roll is the devil, we don't like that. But they show that they have wholesome lyrics about God or whatever. They're called 316, which is a reference to a Bible verse. And so then at the beginning of the second act, Kevin shows up. I think that's his name, Brian Baumgartner. It's easier to call him Kevin. Anyhow, Kevin shows up and decides, I'm going to manage you to the big time. So they go on the road and they have some fun, and crazy stuff happens, and then they meet the girl, and one of the guys falls in love with her, because there's always a love story in an 80s movie. See the crazy stuff that happens, and then she becomes a singer, and then they get to the big time. They're up for Motley Crue, the Heaven and Hell tour with Striper. See, there he is falling in love, and Kevin is the comic relief, and in the end, something good happens. I would say they probably 50-50 they get the tour, because did they really get the tour? Is this based on a real thing? I don't know. Maybe it's made up. I don't think it's based on a real band, but maybe it is. But it looks fun. It looks like a fun comedy movie. God, we need comedy movies. We desperately need comedy movies that aren't pretentious, that aren't full of stupid woke ideology or politics. This looks like a perfectly fun, mindless romp in the 80s with rock and roll, but not like too crazy. I mean, obviously it's a Christian band, so it's not going to be like boobies back to back, but it looks fun. It looks fun. I'd watch this movie. Sure. I'd watch it for Kevin. Hey, if you love The Office, I'm sure Kevin's going to be all over this movie. And it looks like he's the star. So, him as a band manager, I don't think he's doing the Kevin voice, though. So just so you know, he's doing sort of like a normal guy voice, because he kind of has to. He's got to be a different character. He can't be Kevin. As much as that would be amazing. He can't do Kevin. But it looks good. Electric Jesus. It's a good name. Coming out this year. This will be fun. This would have been a fun summer movie. It's a little late to get out now, but, I could totally get down with this. Electric Jesus. I wish I knew. I wish I had a date. It just says coming soon. I would save it for the spring. This feels like more of a springtime movie, but I'm totally going to see this probably. All right, and that's it for this movie. On to the next one.